All right, good morning, everybody. Today is Tuesday, April the 9th. We'll call this meeting to order. Notice of this meeting was legally posted on, it was April the 3rd. We'll start with roll call. Mr. Brett Town.
Present.
Ms. Eleanor Thompson.
Present.
And I'm Teresa Sellers. I'm present as well. So I believe we have 15 different appeals to hear today. I think they're all with Mr. Tyler, right? Brian, so do we want to go ahead and call him? I'm sorry, Mr. Hayes. I don't know why I always want to call him.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Hayes. Are you ready for us today?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, very good. So this is Teresa Sellers, and I'll be chairing the meeting with you today. We have Ms. Thompson and Mr. Town with us as well. So we will go ahead and get started with item number 1 on the agenda, which is BOE 149, 6104 Southeast 84th Street in Del City. R126700123. The assessor has the value set at $209,000, and the property owner is requesting a valuation of $198,800. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Hayes.
Ms. Thompson on yesterday was following what she requested. She wanted me to start off with the property that I agree with the value. Still would like me to do that?
Yes, that would be fantastic. Yes, the sooner that you can let us know that, then the better that is for all of us, I think.
Okay, we can go over the number 2. Ended in 1500.
Okay.
Wait.
So he's wanting to tell us in advance which ones he's
Sure.
agreeing
What
to.
was I heard number 2, and that was the next.
So BOE number 2, which is BOE 302, item 2. Is that the one?
Ended in 1500. 126701500. Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So you're agreeing with the value of $210,500.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I'll hear a motion.
I move that we set the fair market value of BOE number 302 at $210,500 by agreement of the parties.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Let's see. Preservation system, so they can kind of spread out. Find them. I'm trying to go by the number in chronological order. Oh, there we go. Number 5 is 1040.
Okay. So that's BOE item 152. So you're agreeing to the assessor's valuation of $259,500.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I'd like to move on item 5, BOE 152, that we set the fair market value of this property by agreement of both parties at $259,500.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You have.
Number 6 and number 7
Okay.
also today.
All right, so item 6 is BOE 153 for a valuation of $287,500. You agree to that value?
Unfortunately, I do.
Okay, so I'll hear a motion.
I move that we set the fair market value of BOE number 153 at $287,500 by agreement of the parties.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and then you also said item number 7, which is BOE 154. The assessor has a value of $335,000. You agree with that value?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I move on item number 7, BOE number 154. We set the fair market value of this property at $335,500 per agreement by both parties.
So let me just clarify, is it 335,000 even or 335,500?
So it's what happened on this one is it got noticed twice. So the new but notice is actually 335. So
Okay.
Because that's
We
what
were
my
just-
record
So,
shows.
Yes.
so I'd like to alter that to set that
Thank the
value
Lord.
at 335,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Do you have another one? Mr. Hayes?
That was hold on, John. That was number 7. Number 10, 385. So good.
Okay, so item 10 is BOE 157. The assessor has a value of 152,000. Do you accept that value?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'll move that we set the fair market value of BOE number 157 at $152,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 11,
Okay.
1,200. It's also pretty good.
Okay, number 11 is 100, BOE 158. 182,500, that's the value.
Mhm.
Okay,
I'd like to move on, or I move that we accept item number 11, BOE number 158, and set the fair market value of this property at $182,500 per agreement.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Number 13, 14, 15, all good.
Are all good? Great.
Number 1,500 is 13.
Okay, so we'll start with number 13, BOE 160, which has a value of 225,500. Is that the value that you agreed to? Okay,
Uh-huh.
I'll hear a motion.
I move that we set the fair market value by agreement of the parties at BOE number 160 at $225,500.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so item number 14 is BOE 161. Has a value of 160,500. Is that the value you agreed to, Mr. Hayes?
Yes, ma'am.
I move on BOE number 161 that we set the fair market value of this property by agreement at $160,500.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then item 15, BOE 162, has a value of 209,000. Is that the value that you were agreeing to, Mr. Hayes?
Unfortunately, it is, ma'am.
All right. I move that we set the fair market value of BOE number 162 by agreement of the parties at $209,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Well, Mr. Hayes, thank you so much for doing that for us up front. I think that will make the rest of the meeting go much more smoothly. So with that, we will go ahead and back up and start with the first item on the agenda, which is BOE 149. And as I mentioned, the assessor's office has the value set at $209,000. The records show that the property owner is requesting $198,800, and I will also throw out there the valuation of the property in 2023 was $198,500.
I'm requesting 207,500 based off of 1 and 3. I didn't like the adjustments on number 2. It sold to 207, slightly larger than the subject property. It is 1 year old. The land is a little bit fast, but I didn't think the adjustments, the self-adjustments were pretty correct. Notice that the sale price was 207. It's larger than the subject property. And it's just 221, 300. Yeah, the land is a little bit more, 1,500. So I didn't agree. Plus, it was sold right around the time, October 10th, right around the time the other property sold at 210. So I just took 1 and 3 and did the average and got 207.5. I think that's a little more fair.
Well, I'm a little bit confused by that because it sold in October of 2022, whereas I think the other one, maybe Comp 1, that was sold in October of 23. And then your square.
October 22 is 22. I'm sorry. So those two properties sold last the year before. So
Comps 2 and 3. Yeah, comps 2 and 3 were 2022, correct?
Yeah.
So, and so why are you accepting comp 3 over comp 2?
It's closer to the subject property, and it's sold a little bit less.
Okay.
And it's closer in location, and it's closer in living area.
All right. Thank you. And I'll hear from the assessor's office.
And also land square foot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
go
just want to make sure. 6104 Southeast 84th Street, your major intersections here. Southeast 89th Street and South Sooner Road. On this property, I figured the 2022 sales would come up, so I did run another report of 6 comparables that were all in 2023. The median value of that is $209,356, and that was So that was the median of those 6 comps. What I also did is I did something a little bit different. I looked at the number of sales that happened in 2023 in this market area of up to half a mile. There were 30 sales in this area of up to half a mile, and those 30 comps do support that value of $209,000. Just using 2023 sales, not 2022, not using the 2 that were originally used. So that is why I'm going to be sticking with the value of $209,000.
Well, with all due respect, we go off the evidence presented. You keep saying you reran, and I understand it, but I'm just going off the evidence that was presented for the reason why the value is extra.
Yeah, I've had a question about that recently because it's been coming up that we've been rerunning. Shouldn't we only be able to hear what was presented in
That's what I
the
thought.
preliminary hearing? And if we're rerunning with new data,
That's not,
Unless he's rerunning with the taxpayer comps, I would think, right? If he's rerunning, if he's using the taxpayer comps with the assessor's adjustments, it's probably okay.
but they had to be comps that were presented in the
Informal.
informal.
it's with the evidence. Yeah, with all due respect, when you're doing sharing, it's about the evidence presented.
I just want
know
to
you
be
said
consistent
that. I was like,
on our rationale.
You know, and I can appreciate the discussion. But Mr. Hayes, when you have been voicing concern about what you're calling older sales, and they go back and bring in more recent sales, that is to the benefit of the argument that you're making, right?
well, I'm saying that, like I said before, if you can take older sales, raise the value, why can't I use older sales and lower the value? Because we're going off to sales. Because the sales is what dictates the market. So if you want to take an older sale and time adjust, I can take an older sale that's lower and time adjusted and say the same thing, that it should be lower.
Yeah, but
That's not good appraisal practice.
Yeah, but my understanding is I think we're only using the older sales when there's not newer sales available, right? It's not arbitrary. It's only when there's nothing available. I would be curious as to why we didn't see the 6 comps prior to today.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I just wasn't the one who ran the comps. So, and that's one reason why we as a whole have ran new comp, because we may not have done the initial hearing. So we may find something that would help at the board.
So you're really kind of in the same situation that he is because he didn't run the comps. He has to work with
Exactly.
what presented before him.
Exactly. And so if we see something, 222 sales, even though I obviously say these support the value, if I find comps that I feel are better, I'm going to present them, or at least let you guys know what that information is that I feel would even help support my value in this aspect. And because of what Eleanor just brought up, is you don't like 22 comps, so I'm going to make sure that I go back and pull all 23, and hopefully I can support my value, or in your favor, lower value. So that is why I did that.
So in this case, I do have to ask, because I didn't see that we had any property owner comps in our package. Were there comps presented to you?
I didn't write anything down, so that usually means no, but Will you please double check? I don't think we did. Because normally I notate that. No, we did not. So we didn't have any evidence to even go off of to begin with. So.
So we went off your evidence. That's what I'm saying. And then you only have one sale for 23.
But usually,
All I can say is the market is the market. And when they talk about setting the market value, go from January 1st to December 31st. The concept is you can go older to raise the value, which is not fair to the property. Just not.
Okay, let me just, we're at he's at 209 and you at 207,500. Anybody wanna move? Mr. Hayes, did you used the 22 comp, right?
Well, yes, I did.
We used comp 1 and 3.
1 and 3, yeah.
All right. Then I'm going to go ahead and close this hearing for BOE 149 and move on. We've already decided on the second item, BOE 302, so I'm going to move on to item number 3, BOE 150, 1808 Yellowstone Lane, Edmond, R126801110. The assessor's office has it valued at $261,500. The property owner is requesting a valuation of $205,500. Mr. Hayes, I assume you want to change that? Or is that still what you're asking?
No, I'm asking for 259.
259,000 even? Okay, and how do you arrive at that?
R2680. I thought I had that one saved. I'm sorry. I had you already in here.
Yeah, the last four numbers are at 1110.
Yes. Yellowstone. Notice on this particular property that, hold on, my notes. Trying to see what I wrote down for this. Hold on one second, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, looking at the subject property, I noticed that the time adjustments on some of these were kind of a little bit rough. The cell number 3, one of the closest one inside is 1838, sold in March. Those two adjusted to almost $282,000. I thought that was a bit high. Looking at the one that was closer, 1885, it's only 8 square foot, sold for $245.
Which one was that? Which comp was that?
Number 1.
Comp 1?
It stayed at $245. The first two were well under the value of $261,500. One was $254, and one was $243. The other one was $270. I noticed that 3 of the values were under and 3 were over. Number 9 is number 3 is an outlier. 38, so that was $260,000. It adjusted. It had 12,000 adjustments, 281. I don't really agree with those adjustments. I would not use number 6 and 1534 if it was smaller square feet. It adjusts a little bit higher, and I didn't want to use the 2150. It adjusted to 257.
And which one is that? That's comp 5?
5, yes.
Okay, so you threw out comps 3, 5, and 6. Does that mean you used 1, 2, and 4?
Yeah. So, and I noticed how sometimes they use 6, and sometimes they use 3. For my sharing data, you can keep going to find pumps if you want, depending on the distance. I'm just wondering why sometimes they only use 3 and sometimes they use 6. And sometimes they use 3 and only going back to last year's quality, not getting it.
Yeah, and I believe the assessor's office has explained that it's other members of the staff that are pulling those comps, so I'm not sure that they would have an explanation.
So if we have 6 sales that are very comparable to the property, we're gonna use 6. If we can only pull 3, we're only gonna pull 3. It's not, I'm only pulling 3 so I can support my value, or I'm only using 6 because this is the only way I'm gonna support my value. It's just based on how many sales we have. If we have a bunch of sales and I have, let's say, 30 sales and I can get 6 good ones, I'm going to use 6. I'm not going to use 3. I mean, and if we can support the value either way, I don't see why it matters if we use 3 or 6, personally. So, it's all an opinion.
I'm glad you said that. So when you grab 3 properties, I'm glad you said that because you helped me make my point. If you're using 3 properties and 2 of them from last year, that's exactly what I've been trying to tell you. That means you shouldn't be raising that value. That's my point. 2 of them for 22 and not 23. That means it's a slow moving area, and there's no reason to try to raise that value.
Okay, so that was regarding the last case. So let's move forward to this case, 150. And so my understanding is you're requesting $259,000. You're basing that off of the comps, the assessor's comps 1, 2, and 4. We'll hear from the assessor now and see how they came up with their evaluation.
Can I ask what the 2023 value was?
Yeah, it was $251,000.
Okay, thank you.
1808 Yellowstone Lane. Major streets here is North Santa Fe Avenue and West Danforth Road. Square footage is 1,877 square feet, which gives you a price per square foot of $139.32. The 6 comp report that we ran supports a median value of $259,701. In this case, I ran their comps again, and I was able to use 6. I used their comp 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, and 9, and came up with a median value of $264,977, which is higher than their current value. So based on the evidence provided and the evidence we presented, I don't see why we should be lowering this value, and that's why we stuck with the $261,500.
Okay. Mr. Hayes, you have the final word?
Nothing further.
Okay, and I'm going to close this item, number 3, and move on to item number 4, which is BOE 151. 5212 Southeast 87th Street, R126951,390. The assessor's office has it valued at $247,000. The property owner is requesting a value of $176,850.
I'm at 230 on this, just using the average 1, 2, and 3. They were all close to the subject property within 130 square foot. Once you get into the other values, 4, 5, and 6, they were smaller. One's almost 500 square feet, one's about 400 square feet, one's a little less than 300. So I think staying in the concept of the first 3, 2 sold towards the middle of the year, 1 sold toward the end. If you look at the number 3, it's about what? A little over 200 square foot. Actually a little less than 200 square foot. Service property. Notice that it sold for $200,000. So and it's average same year. So when its land is a lot more, which of course raises that did on the adjustment. So I use 1, 2, and 3, and I got it. You guys 230.
Okay, we'll hear from the assessor.
5212 Southeast 87th Street is major streets here, Southeast 89th and South Sooner Road. The square footage of this property is 2,116 square feet. The 24 value, as was stated, is $247,000. The 23 value is $240,000. We ran that 6 comp report, which supports that median of $246,422. I looked at all the 23 sales that we had in this area. We had 4 close in the neighborhood, but we also had 28 total sales within half a mile, and both support the median. I actually combined some comps. I used their comp 6 and 7 and our comp 1 and 2. And I did find 2 other 23 sales that I felt were more comparable and got a median value of $249,945. So with the evidence that was provided, with the evidence we provided, I can support the 247. Plus what's being requested is actually lower than the 23 value.
All right, Mr. Hayes, you have the final word?
What was the 23 value?
The 2023 value is $240,000.
We have a sale date on this?
The last sale on this was a multi-property purchase in 2018.
Yeah, the last deed sale looks like it was July 2015 for $130,000. Mr. Hayes, did you have anything else?
Okay.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and close item number 4 and move on to item number 5, BOE 152.
Reset.
And we actually, oh, that's true. We actually had an agreement by the parties on this one. 153, BOE 6, we had an agreement of the parties. 154. Item number 7, we had an agreement already. So moving on to BOE 155, which is item number 8. 8416 South Hillcrest Drive, R143640. The assessor's office, which one am I on here? 155, correct?
Yes.
The assessor's office set a value at $214,000. The property owner is requesting a valuation of $182,500. Mr. Hayes, what are you asking for?
Can I get that value for last year?
2023 value was $198,500.
Okay. I'll be at 209.5. That is a 6% increase because notice that none of these sales are even close to the subject property. Subject property is an outlier at 2128. The only one that's close is the 1773, and it is only 52 years old. So none of these, 1556 is over 500. 1642 is close. It's only 14 square foot, 486 square foot, smaller than the subject property, so it's not a true comp. One comp doesn't, so I added 0.6 to last year's value, and it's about 12,000, so I got 85.
Mr. Hayes, when you say that it's not close, are you saying it's not close in proximity, or are you saying it's not close in square footage?
Square footage, yeah. We're talking about square footage.
Okay.
When you talk square footage and difference of a property from 2,000 and you're going down to 1,550 and 1,600 and you're well over 2,000 square feet, those are not those. You can comp it. You can comp anything. We talked about that, but that's not something in a cookie cutter neighborhood. That's not considered a true comp. So I added 0.6% because you don't have a lot of sales. Now they may have sales for us, but the sales that they provided us are not true comps. So I came up with it, 210,000, 210.
So 210 is what you're asking for?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll hear from the assessor.
Okay. 8416 South Hillcrest Drive. Major streets here, Southwest 89th and Penn. The 3 comp report that we ran supports a median value of $214,082. The subject is actually the biggest one in this area. Again, I ran some other comps just to double check. It's the biggest one I can find. So the subject, the reason you make those adjustments for the square footage, they're there. So we're accounting for that in our analysis here, as we do for all of them. The evidence we were provided, all the comps were in Cleveland County. So we had nothing to go off of to justify looking at comps of theirs and seeing if it supported or lowered the value. So based on that evidence, based on the comparables that were ran, both that were provided and the other ones that I have here, they support the value. So that's what we had to go off of.
Okay. Mr. Hayes, you have anything to add?
No, ma'am.
Okay, then I will close BOE 155, item number 8, and move on to item number 9, BOE 156, 8917 South Hillcrest Drive. Looks pretty close to the last one. R 143412120. The assessor's office has a value set at $194,000. The property owner is requesting $156,250. What are you asking for, Mr. Hayes?
186.
Okay.
Okay, we have 6 properties. Well, the best part is you got a property that's the same exact size, 1 square foot off. I'm pretty sure it's the same. The land is slightly different. Notice that the property sold for 180. I asked for 186 because that is the average of 2 of the properties, number 1 and number 4. Those are actually the 2 closest properties to the subject property. So the other 4 you can use, but if you look at the year, you look at the time of year, one's done in the middle of the year, one's done close to the end of the year. So it kind of shows the flow. So I took the average of those 2 properties around it, and I got 186. Notice that, like I said, the 1 property is the exact same size. Just the land's a little bit different. So you look at the 186, that's probably an adjustment. That could be used as an adjustment for the land. But number 1 and 4 are the closest to the subject property. And as a taxpayer, if I bought my property at $180,000 and another property is the same size with a little more land, that $6,000 is kind of justified as adjustment to 182. So if you go down to the bottom, just the sale price 185, 800, rounded to 186.
So again, when you say closest, are you saying closest in square footage or closest in proximity?
Square footage on this. Yeah, square footage on these.
Okay, we'll hear from the assessor's office.
8917 South Hillcrest Drive, registrates here. Once again, our Southwest 89th Street in South Penn. 24 value is 194,000, and the 23 value was 142,500. And the reason for that being, we had a unqualified sale in March of 23 of a multi-property purchase of $10,824,500. And the reason you see that big jump there is because the caps comes off and it goes on for what that surrounding area is going for. So with that being said, the 6 comps we ran, because we do mass appraisal, we don't just nitpick which ones we want. It's a mass appraisal of the whole neighborhood there. Supports a median value of $194,996 of these 6 comps. There were 20 other sales, or 20 total sales in this vicinity that was going to be about a quarter mile. That were 23 sales that supported the current value of $194,000. And I looked at theirs again. I didn't write down which ones these were. Okay, so I used their comp 1, comp 12, comp 5, comp 8, comp 10, and comp 9, and got a median value. Let's see, that would support our value as well.
And you use these comps because,
This was the evidence that was provided,
okay, but I mean,
just to make sure we didn't miss anything.
were they the closest? Were they closest in size? Were they closest in age?
Those were
Same
the-
county.
Those were actually out of the first 12 comps I looked at. There was only 6 that I could use because of the stress. So I just took their 6 that I could use.
Yeah, I can tell you out of the 30, 18 of them were more than a half a mile away.
Yeah. So on the ones I ran, everything is from 0.15 miles all the way up to 0.7 miles.
Okay. Just want to get it on tape.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry. I took me a second to process what you were asking.
Okay, so Mr. Hayes, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna sound a little argumentative, but I just want to state that I apologize to the Denver parents for them setting what we call cherry down. So I'm very, kind of interested to see why the appraisal would go as far as 5, 6 comps, go to 12 comps, because they provide no more than 6 comps. When you're appraising or doing evaluation, you shouldn't have to use 8 and 12 comps to get evaluated.
Or 30.
So I do apologize. You shouldn't see that many comps that we send anyway. So I don't understand why you even look at that.
Yeah,
That's my fault.
We have to look at it because that's what was provided. I mean, unfortunately, we had to look at all of them.
yeah,
So if that's the evidence that's provided, that's what I have to look at. If you sent me 10, I'm going to look at all 10. But that's just what was provided. So
Chris?
Ma'am?
Yes.
Yeah, just on the informal protest form, when it's filled out, there's a section to put what you believe the value of the home is, and then there's a section for please provide evidence for why you believe the value should be what you're stating. So that's where the whole, why we're looking at their evidence and everything is just because that's provided from them to justify why the value should be lowered per the informal protest form. So.
Okay, so if there's nothing more, I'm going to close item number 9, BOE 156. Item number 10, we had an agreement of the parties already on BOE 157. Item number 11, BOE 158, we also had an agreement of the parties. So I'm going to move on to item number 12, BOE 159, 2601 Southwest 84th Street. R148471-160. The assessor's office has a value set at $138,500. The property owner is requesting a value of $113,400. 2023 value
What
was
was that? I'm sorry, what was that R number again?
R9 148471-160. Okay. The 2023 value was set at $120,000. So we'll hear from you, Mr. Hayes.
Looking at the flow of the sale, number 3 I didn't use because it was an outlier. I didn't use number 6. Noticing that 4 of the properties were under 1,000 square feet and closer to the subject property. 2 of them are just exact second size. I did notice that now we're dealing with properties under 1,000 square feet. So when you're looking at a property that's sold for 125 and 146, during the same time of the year, September, November, I have to think that a difference of $20,000 on value over $100,000 property value means that their property's upgraded. Okay, when you're looking at a fair and only a few years difference. Now, noticing that the number 2 is 11 years newer than the subject property, so I kind of wanted to focus on the property that I thought was close. Number 5 also sold for considerably more. Notice that it sold for $30,000 more than the other property at 110. So I didn't think those were 2 comps by the sale price. And then notice that a property that's 260 largest being number 6 sold for 2,000 more than the property number 5. So I don't think that was a good flow of comps. So I stuck with the ones that were kind of close. 864 number 4, slightly smaller than the subject property, and the land was a little bit smaller, but they did make the adjustment at 135. And noticing that once again we got the same value. And I guess this is my old appraisal practices. Looking at number 1, it's sold in the range of 125, a little bit lower, but it's pretty much the same size as subject property. It is 6 years older. The land is smaller. They made the adjustments. It came up 10,000, and it's at 135.89.
So
That's what.
what valuation are you asking for?
135.
And you're basing that off of comp 1 and 4?
Yes.
Okay. We'll hear from the assessor's office.
2601 Southwest 84th Street. Their major streets here is Southwest 89th Street and South May Avenue. Square footage here is, I wrote down the wrong square footage, 892 square feet. I do want to point out something. The sell price, that's not something we make up. That's what a willing buyer and a willing seller is agreeing to. So calling it a not a good comp or not a comparable, that's just what someone was willing to pay for the property at that square footage. So we don't manipulate the sell price at all. So if they're willing to pay $40,000 more or $20,000 more, I should say, for a property that's 1 square foot difference, I don't know why you didn't use comp 2.
So the sale was in May of 21 for $108,995. Is that what you have
Which
On-
one?
On the subject,
on the subject?
so the last thing I show is the last arm's length transaction was in May of 21
For 109,000.
for 109,000.
Okay.
In 23 there was a batch sale in March of 23.
Okay.
So that would be the most recent, I should say, purchase.
And your 23 valuation was?
120,000.
And which comp was it you felt like that he discarded that you felt like should? Was it comp 3?
2.
Well, comp 2. I mean, it's only a 1 square foot difference. I mean, it sold for 146,000. I don't know why you wouldn't use that one when it's 1 square foot.
Can I rebut?
When he finishes.
But that's just coming from, that's the sales price. If someone's willing to pay that, by all means, good job for you. You made a good sale there. If someone was only sold it for 120,000, could they have made more? Maybe, based on what this says. But that's why we use a mass appraisal system. We take all sales accounted for, and we came up with that median value on this 6 comp report of 136,783. And that's all I have.
Okay. Mr. Hayes?
I'm going to go back to that and kind of see. So, looking at a property from we're going back. Okay. So we're talking about sale. When you look at a property and it's sale, when they're selling around the same time, same size, there's a reason 9 times out of 10 why one property someone's willing to pay more, because it's probably upgraded, and because from a mass appraisal that we do not go in and look at a property, we have to assume that there is a reason, which is probably that it's been upgraded, so it will have more value than that property that's sold for less. Especially in a neighborhood with all the homes, what we call cookie cutters, that's all I'm saying. Because you can't do an assessment, an individual assessment, we're doing math. So when I see a house that's 882, and then I see a house that's 864, 18 square foot, and then 30,000 dollars, so we're under 150,000. 9 times out of 10, the kitchen is heavily upgraded, the bathrooms are nice, something like that. So that's where the value comes in. But when you have extra value, that creates the concept of a lesser comp. That's all it is from a appraisal standpoint. We're still talking about appraisal. We're getting the value, but we're still in the realm of appraising the value of the property based on the sale.
Okay, so we pulled it up on, I don't know, it was Google or something that's actually showing pictures of the property. And we'll take that into consideration. I think we understand your argument. We do see some hardwood floors, some gray paint, which would kind of indicate that it may have, there were some improvements made on it, but it looks like some of the bedrooms maybe not. So, but we'll certainly take that into consideration. Thank you for that, Mr. Hayes. Anything else?
And please let me say this. For me being, and I just need to get this out. For me being a former fee appraiser, I've never enjoyed this concept of properties that are not recently sold. I don't care if it's 2, 3 years. Knowing that most people who sell a property, they do things to get their property ready for sale because it's about the showmanship of the property. That's how you get your value. So it's kind of not fair for these properties that are not being sold. Now, if it's a recent sale, yes. But everybody knows that most people upgrade or do something special to their property. Because if it's an as-is sale, not an arm's length, it's not truly a market sale. But if it's been ready for sale and prepped, that's why it's a part of the market sale. So, and I think we have to consider that when we do these values more.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I'm going to close item number 12, BOE 159, and move on to item number 13, BOE 160. We had an agreement of the parties. Item 14, BOE 161, we had an agreement of the parties. Item 15, BOE 162, we had an agreement of the parties. So I believe that does it for today. We've got another meeting scheduled for tomorrow with, I believe, another 15 items on the agenda. So we will talk to you again then, Mr. Hayes. Thank you so much.
Mr. Hayes, thank you so much for putting those agreements out front. I think you can see it worked a lot better, made the meeting a lot smoother. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate it.
Yes, I'll be doing so now. As long as I have the schedule, I can do that from now. No problem.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We will talk tomorrow.
Well, have a good day.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, anything further?
Oh, sorry. I closed the meeting.
But before, he has all of the ones for tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
All right. Anything further? All right. So I'll call for a motion to close the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.